So, let me get this straight, she said slowly, adjusting her glasses. You want to build a 35-foot brick tower in your front yard with a rotating light on top? It's a freestanding illuminated decorative garden structure, I recited patiently. Fully compliant with setback requirements. The illumination is for ambiance and safety. Safety from what? Low-flying aircraft? Pirate attacks? She muttered, flipping through the pages. This height, it might need a variance, and planning board review. My name is Mike, and I live in a place called Harmony Creek Estates. If you've ever seen The Stepford Wives or The Truman Show, you've got the general idea. Perfectly manicured lawns, houses painted in offensively inoffensive shades of beige and taupe, and an HOA, the HOA, that rules with an iron fist clad in a sensible gardening glove. Our covenants, conditions, and restrictions document is thicker than my college physics textbook, and roughly 10 times as confusing, governing everything from the precise Pantone shade of your welcome mat to the maximum allowable decibel level of wind chimes. Seriously. I run a small online business selling vintage maps from home, which mostly means I have more time than strictly necessary to notice the creeping conformity. Generally, I keep my head down. Pay the dues, mow the lawn, don't paint your door purple. Simple. Except for my flagpole. It wasn't huge, a standard 20-foot aluminum pole, sunk properly in concrete, a respectful distance from the sidewalk. Every morning I'd go out, clip on Old Glory, and run her up the pole. Call me old-fashioned, call me sentimental. My grandpa served in WDO too. But seeing the flag flying against the aggressively blue suburban sky just felt right. It had been up for over a year. Nobody said boo. It was, I thought, one small, permissible deviation from the Harmony Creek beige doctrine. I was wrong. So very, very wrong. The harbinger of doom arrived in the form of Stan. Stan Kowalski, HOA president, retired regional manager for a company that probably sold something soul-crushingly dull, like industrial adhesives or paper clips. Stan lived 3 doors down and possessed an uncanny ability to materialize whenever a blade of grass dared to grow a millimeter taller than its neighbors. He wore his HOA logo polo shirt like a suit of armor, and carried a clipboard like Moses carrying the commandments. He caught me one Saturday morning, mid-mow. I saw him marching across my lawn, with that purposeful stride that always preceded some nitpicky infraction notice. I cut the engine. "Mike," he said, adjusting his glasses and pointing a stubby finger towards the flagpole, the flag fluttering innocently in the breeze. "Gonna need you to take that down." I blinked, wiping sweat from my forehead. "Take down the flagpole, Stan? Why? It's been up for ages." "Doesn't matter how long it's been up," Stan sniffed, consulting his mental rulebook. "It's an unapproved structure. Section 7, subsection B, paragraph 4. All exterior structures, including but not limited to sheds, gazebos, and permanent fixtures, require prior written approval from the Architectural Review Committee." "It's a flagpole, Stan," I argued. "For the American flag. There are federal laws about displaying the flag." "Federal law doesn't supersede Harmony Creek CC and ours within the bounds of this development," he retorted smugly. "And the committee never approved this pole. It disrupts the uniform streetscape. It's vertical." He said a vertical like it was a dirty word. "So are trees, Stan. Are you gonna make me take down my oak tree?" "Trees are natural," he said dismissively. "Flagpoles are artificial intrusions. Take it down by the end of next week, Mike, or we'll start issuing fines." He gave a curt nod and marched off, leaving me fuming beside my silent lawnmower. Vertical? Disrupts the streetscape? It was a flagpole. A symbol of, well, of flags and poles and America. The sheer unadulterated pettiness of it ignited a slow burn in my chest. This wasn't about aesthetics. This was about Stan flexing his microscopic authority. A few days later, the certified letter arrived, just as promised. It was typed on heavy, cream-colored paper, citing the aforementioned Section 7, Subsection B, Paragraph 4, and demanding removal of the offending vertical structure within 14 days. Failure to comply would result in daily fines of $50. $50 a day for flying the flag on a pole Stan didn't like. That night, fueled by righteous indignation and cheap whiskey, I pulled out the Harmony Creek Bible, the CC and Rs. I read Section 7, Subsection B, Paragraph 4, until my eyes blurred. Stan was right. It mentioned structures and permanent fixtures. But then I kept reading. Section 8 dealt with landscaping and garden features. Section 9 covered exterior lighting. The wording was different, vaguer in places. It talked about height restrictions for decorative elements and lumens for safety lighting. A thought sparked, wild and beautiful in its absurdity. Stan wanted me to remove the pole. Fine. But the rules about other kinds of tall things, maybe they were different. What if I replaced the flagpole with something else? Something tall? Something illuminating? Something so far outside Stan's beige little box he wouldn't know what hit him? My fingers flew across the keyboard. Tall garden structures. Unique yard features. Backyard observation towers. And then residential lighthouse. Bingo. The internet, bless its weird heart, is full of people who have built or dreamed of building miniature lighthouses in their yards. Most were charmingly rustic, maybe 10 feet tall, made of wood with a little solar lantern on top. Cute, quaint, not nearly annoying enough. No, I needed something, more, something substantial, something with a real beacon. I dove deeper. Fresnel lenses, intricate, beautiful, designed to throw light for miles. High-intensity discharge lamps, heavy-duty rotational mechanisms, structural engineering requirements for wind load on a 30-foot tower, maritime signaling regulations, because why not? The plan began to form, ludicrous and glorious. I wouldn't just replace the flagpole, I would erect a monument to spite, loopholes, and excessive illumination, a fully functional, albeit miniature, lighthouse, right here in landlocked Harmony Creek Estates. I reread the CC and Rs. Flagpoles were out. But a freestanding, illuminated, decorative garden structure? Maybe, just maybe, that was technically permissible, or at least arguable enough to cause Stan maximum agita. This, however, was not a DIY project. My skills topped out at assembling IKEA furniture and occasionally changing a light bulb. Building a 30-foot tower with a multi-thousand lumen rotating beacon required professionals, weird professionals probably. My first call was to Sarah Chen, P.E., structural engineer. Her website looked reassuringly competent, full of bridges and commercial buildings. I figured I'd ease her into it. "Miss Chen," I said politely over the phone, "I'm looking to commission plans for a unique backyard structure, a sort of slender tower." "Okay," she replied, her voice crisp and professional. "Intended use? Approximate dimensions? Materials?" "Observational/decorative," I fudged. "Maybe 30, 35 feet tall? Concrete base, probably brick or stone veneer. The main thing is, it needs a reinforced platform on top. Strong enough to hold equipment." "Equipment?" she queried. "Like an antenna? Weather station?" "Sort of," I said, taking a deep breath. "More like a lamp. A large, rotating lamp with a lens. Basically a small lighthouse beacon." Silence. I could hear her blinking. "A residential lighthouse in Harmony Creek?" She clearly knew the area. It's a long story involving flagpoles and creative interpretation of HOA bylaws, I admitted. Another pause. Then, surprisingly, a chuckle. Okay, mister? Miller. Mike Miller. Mr. Miller. Structurally, yes, it's entirely feasible. We design towers all the time, getting it permitted through the town and past your HOA. However, that might be the real engineering challenge. And forgive me for asking, but why? Let's just say I'm exploring alternative methods of community illumination, I said vaguely. She sighed, but agreed to take on the structural design. Step 1 complete. Next, electricity. This wasn't plugging in a Christmas tree. I needed serious wattage, run underground, up a tower, powering a lamp designed to be seen for miles, plus a motor to turn it. I found Sparky's Electrical Solutions online. His tagline was, "If it uses volts, we make it jolt." Promising. "Sparky," I said when a cheerful voice answered, "I need some heavy-duty wiring run for an outdoor structure." "Sure thing," Sparky chirped. "Hot tub, workshop, charging your spaceship?" "Closer to the spaceship, maybe. It's for a beacon, on top of a tower. Needs to handle serious power. Thousands of lumens." Sparky let out a whoop. "Whoa, no kidding. Like a legit beacon? That is awesome. What kind of lamp we talking? HID? Mega LED array? We gotta consider heat sinks, surge protection, dedicated circuit, maybe even 3-phase if you're really serious. Is it gonna rotate? Oh man, this sounds way better than installing ceiling fans." Sparky was in, enthusiastically. Finally, I needed someone to actually build the thing. I found Vinny's Construction. No job too big, small, or weird. Vinny himself sounded like he gargled gravel, but his reviews were solid. I met him at a coffee shop, rolling out Sarah's preliminary sketches. Vinny stared at the drawings, took a long slurp of coffee, and looked at me. That's a lighthouse, buddy." "It's a freestanding illuminated decorative garden structure, Vinny," I corrected gently. He snorted. "Right. Decorative. Like Godzilla is a decorative lizard. Look, you get the permits from the town, you got the cash, my guys will build it. Foundation, bricks, mortar, the whole 9 yards. But I'm telling you right now, your neighbors? Especially that HOA guy, Stan. They're gonna lose their minds." "That, Vinny," I grinned, "is basically the point." Vinny shrugged, named his price, which made my eyes water, and we shook on it. The Lighthouse Liberation Army was assembled. Getting permits was an experience. Armed with Sarah's incredibly detailed, engineer-stamped blueprints, I marched into the Harmony Creek Town Planning and Zoning Department. The clerk behind the counter, Brenda, who usually dealt with deck extensions and fence permits, looked at the plans like they depicted alien technology. "So, let me get this straight," she said slowly, adjusting her glasses. "You want to build a 35-foot brick tower in your front yard with a rotating light on top?" "It's a freestanding illuminated decorative garden structure," I recited patiently, "fully compliant with setback requirements. The illumination is for ambiance and safety." "Safety from what? Low-flying aircraft? Pirate attacks?" she muttered, flipping through the pages. "This height, it might need a variance. And planning board review." Oh, joy. A planning board review meant a public hearing, which meant Stan. Sure enough, 2 weeks later, I found myself standing before the Harmony Creek Planning Board, 5 stern-looking local dignitaries in a stuffy room. I presented my case calmly, emphasizing the decorative nature, the quality materials, the professional engineering. Then Stan got his turn at the podium. He was practically vibrating with outrage. He waved his copy of the CC and Rs, denounced my project as a blatant violation of community standards, a monstrosity, and possibly a secret government antenna. He painted a terrifying picture of plummeting property values and sleepless nights caused by, well, he wasn't quite sure yet, but he knew it would be bad. The board looked confused. They asked Sarah Chen a few technical questions about wind load and foundations. They asked me why I didn't just, build a nice gazebo. I stuck to my script. Unique architectural expression. In the end, perhaps swayed by the sheer novelty, or maybe just wanting Stan to sit down, they voted 3. 2 to approve the variance and the permit. Subject to final electrical inspection, of course, I walked out of there feeling like I'd just won the Super Bowl, clutching my approved permit like a golden ticket. Construction began the following Monday. Vinny's crew rolled up with a backhoe, and the first scoop of dirt tearing into my pristine lawn sent shockwaves through Harmony Creek. Stan was there within minutes, clipboard in hand. "Mike, what is the meaning of this? That hole is enormous. You're violating landscaping rules." I calmly produced the freshly minted permit. "Just laying the foundation for my approved freestanding illuminated decorative garden structure, Stan. Section 9 permits excavation for approved structures." Stan's face went purple, but he couldn't argue with the permit. He just stood there, fuming, as the hole got deeper. The concrete truck arrived, then the pallets of bricks. Vinny's masons started laying courses, and the tower began to rise. It was slow work, but every day it looked more undeniably like a lighthouse. Neighbors would slow their cars, staring. Some would walk over, asking Vinny's crew what on earth they were building. Vinny, bless his pragmatic heart, just shrugged and said, "Ask the homeowner. He calls it art." Stan became a permanent fixture on the sidewalk across the street, monitoring progress, occasionally shouting questions about property lines or dust control. Then came the rain. A solid week of it. The site turned into a mud pit, delaying the brickwork. Then Sparky called. The specific high-intensity discharge lamp I'd ordered from a specialty supplier in Germany was held up in customs. Costs started creeping up. My initial budget began to look laughably optimistic. Doubt gnawed at me. Was this insane? Was I bankrupting myself over a flagpole? Just as the brickwork neared the top, Stan played another card. He called the cops. 2 cruisers rolled up one afternoon, lights off. Officer Miller, no relation thankfully, and Officer Chen, also no relation to Sarah, weirdly, approached Vinny's foreman. "Afternoon. Got a call about excessive construction noise and possible permit violations?" Stan scurried over, eager to point out infractions. Vinny produced the permits again. The officers checked them, listened patiently to Stan's litany of complaints. Mud on the sidewalk, a truck parked slightly crooked, the general offensiveness of the structure. "Okay, folks," Officer Miller said finally. "Permits seem to be in order here. Just try to keep the noise within the town ordinance hours, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. weekdays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturdays, and keep the site tidy." He gave Stan a look that said, "Don't call us again unless it's a real emergency," and they left. Stan looked like he might actually explode. Finally, the tower was topped out. The prefabricated lantern room glass panels set in a sturdy metal frame was carefully craned into place. Sparky, whose lamp had finally cleared customs, spent 2 days inside the cramped space, wrestling with thick cables, installing the massive bulb that looked like something out of a sci-fi movie, connecting the reflector dish, and wiring the heavy-duty rotational motor. When he climbed down, covered in grease and grinning, he gave me a thumbs up. "She's ready to shine, Cap'n. Just gotta pass the town electrical inspection." The inspection was nerve-wracking, but Sparky's work was impeccable. The inspector, after confirming the wiring could handle the load and wouldn't immediately burst into flames, signed off. The lighthouse was complete. It stood there, 35 feet of brick and glass and latent lumens, utterly, magnificently out of place in Harmony Creek Estates. Now for the fun part. I printed up flyers, simple, elegant things, announcing the inaugural illumination ceremony for the Harmony Creek Community Beacon for the upcoming Saturday at dusk. Ushering in a new era of light and guidance, it proclaimed cheekily. I dropped them in mailboxes under the cover of darkness. The reaction was swift. The HOA board called an emergency meeting, behind closed doors this time. Stan was rumored to be consulting lawyers, seeking an emergency injunction. The neighborhood Facebook group went supernova. Saturday evening arrived, cool and clear. A crowd gathered on the sidewalk and street in front of my house. Maybe 50 or 60 people. Curious neighbors, amused teenagers, a few bewildered passers-by, and huddled together like angry garden gnomes, Stan and about 5 HOA loyalists holding hastily made signs. No Lighthouse in HC. Stop the blight. Respect the beige. I even saw a reporter and cameraman from the local TV news station. Someone, definitely not me, must have tipped them off. I stood at the base of the tower, near the ridiculously oversized knife switch-style lever Sparky had installed for maximum dramatic effect. I cleared my throat. "Welcome, friends, neighbors, concerned citizens," I began, projecting my voice. For too long, Harmony Creek has, well, it's been harmonious. Perhaps too harmonious. A few chuckles from the crowd. Some felt our community lacked a certain spark, a guiding light, if you will. I gestured grandly at the tower. So, thanks to the town's permitting process, the hard work of Vinnie's Construction, Sarah Chen Engineering, and the electrical wizardry of Sparky's Solutions, I present the Harmony Creek Community Beacon. Stan surged forward. "This is an outrage, Miller. It's an illegal structure. It violates every standard this community holds dear. Turn it off." I grinned at him, savoring the moment. "Illegal, Stan? I have permits, stamped and approved." I held up a copy. "Violates standards? I think it sets a new standard. And turn it off?" My hand hovered over the giant switch. "Stan, my dear fellow, I haven't even turned it on yet." And with a flourish, I threw the switch. There was a satisfying thunk, a low hum from within the tower, and then light. Oh, sweet mother of lumens, there was light. The massive HID lamp blazed to life, an artificial sun igniting inside the lantern room. After a few seconds, the motor engaged with a soft whir, and the beam, a focused, incredibly powerful shaft of pure white light, began its slow, inexorable sweep across Harmony Creek Estates. The effect was instantaneous and dramatic. Gasps rippled through the crowd. People shielded their eyes as the beam passed. It painted a stark white stripe across lawns, houses, trees, cars. It sliced through the twilight like a lightsaber. Windows 2 blocks away lit up as the beam hit them. A dog started barking hysterically. Someone laughed, a high-pitched giggle of disbelief. Stan and his protesters were frozen, caught like deer in the headlights, literally, as the beam swept over them. The TV camera panned wildly, trying to follow the light. It was brighter, more powerful, more gloriously disruptive than I had even dreamed. The 911 dispatch center must have melted. Within 10 minutes, the flashing lights returned. Not just one cruiser this time, but 3, plus a supervisor's car. They parked haphazardly, officers getting out, shielding their eyes, and looking up at the rotating beam in disbelief. Sergeant Davies, a man whose face was permanently etched with the weariness of dealing with suburban absurdity, strode towards me. The beam swept past, momentarily turning his Navy uniform stark white. "Mike!" he yelled over the hum of the motor. "What in the Sam Hill is this? My dispatchers are getting calls from the next town over. People think the airport tower fell off. We got pilots reporting navigation hazards." "Evening, Sergeant," I yelled back cheerfully, though my heart was hammering. "It's just my freestanding illuminated decorative garden structure's primary feature, fully permitted by the town." Permitted doesn't mean allowed to simulate an alien invasion, Davies roared as the beam swept back around. You have got to shut this thing down, or at least point it at the ground, or something. We're talking major light trespass, public nuisance, and God knows what the FAA is going to say. I looked at the chaos. The stunned crowd, the flashing police lights mixing with the sweeping beacon, Stan looking like he was about to have an aneurysm. Maybe, just maybe, I'd slightly overdone it. Okay, Sergeant, I yelled, reaching for the switch, shutting down for preliminary operational adjustments. I pulled the lever, and the great light mercifully died, plunging the street back into relative darkness, punctuated only by the police strobes. A collective sigh seemed to rise from the crowd. The aftermath involved lengthy discussions. First with Sergeant Davies, who strongly suggested I consult with the town and the FAA before ever turning the beacon back on at full power. Then came the inevitable emergency HOA meeting from hell. It was held in the clubhouse again, but this time it was standing room only. Stan, armed with signed affidavits from neighbors complaining about being momentarily blinded, sleep disruption, even though it had only been on for 10 minutes, and general terror, demanded the HOA board take immediate legal action to force the lighthouse's removal. He called it a public menace and an attractive nuisance, though what it attracted, other than moths and police cars, was unclear. I came prepared. I had Sarah Chen with me for technical backup, and I'd spent a small fortune on a brief consultation with a lawyer specializing in zoning and HOA disputes. I calmly presented my permits again. I reiterated the decorative structure argument. Crucially, I offered compromises. Look, I said to the packed room, perhaps the initial illumination was overly enthusiastic. Understatement of the century. I'm willing to work with the town and the board on reasonable operational parameters, restricted hours, say dusk until 10 p.m. only, a lower wattage bulb, perhaps. Sparky had already winked and told me he could install a dimmer, with a very limited range. And we can install baffles, or adjust the angle to minimize direct light spill into windows. The community was split. Some were furious, siding with Stan. Others were secretly amused, enjoying the drama and the blow against the HOA's beige tyranny. A surprising number just seemed fascinated by the lighthouse itself. After much heated debate, the paralyzed HOA board did what boards do best. They voted to form a subcommittee to investigate operational guidelines for large-scale illuminated decorative structures. Victory by bureaucracy. Further negotiations with the town resulted in a formal agreement. Operating hours restricted to 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. nightly. A certified lower lumen bulb. Sparky installed it with a hidden bypass switch, for testing purposes only, of course, and some minor adjustments to the beam angle. I even filed paperwork with the FAA, confirming my lighthouse wasn't powerful enough or aimed high enough to interfere with air navigation. Vinny came by for the final check. He looked up at the tower, shook his head, and grinned. Never thought I'd see the day Harmony Creek had its own lighthouse, Mike. You're a damn legend. Or a lunatic. Maybe both. Sparky made the adjustments, showing me the hidden boost switch with a conspiratorial wink. For foggy nights, he'd said, or whenever Stan leaves his sprinklers on too long. So now, the lighthouse stands. It cost me a small fortune, endless headaches, and probably earned me the permanent enmity of Stan Kowalski. But every night, from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m., its slightly dimmed, but still undeniably potent beam sweeps silently across Harmony Creek Estates. It's a beacon of absurdity, a monument to loophole exploitation, a testament to the fact that sometimes the only way to fight petty tyranny is with overwhelming, ridiculously oversized illumination. Stan still glares, but he doesn't approach me anymore. He communicates strictly via official HOA violation notices about the precise curvature of my lawn edging. Sometimes, late at night, especially if Stan has left his annoyingly bright porch light on, I might accidentally flip the boost switch for a rotation or two, just to test it, of course, for safety. You never know when a ship might get lost in the suburban fog.